The sun hung low in the sky like a weary sentinel, casting long shadows over the sleepy suburb of Elmwood Heights. Officer Mark Riley, a veteran cop with 15 years on the force, cruised his patrol car down Maple Street, the engine humming softly in the early morning hush. At 42, Mark had seen his share of the city's underbelly: petty thefts, domestic disputes, the occasional drug bust. But mornings like this reminded him why he joined the force, to protect the quiet moments before the world stirred into chaos. He sipped his black coffee, strong and bitter, from a thermos his wife Sarah had packed. Their marriage had hit a rough patch lately. Late shifts and unspoken worries about the dangers of the job had built a wall between them. But today felt ordinary, almost mundane. No calls on the radio, just the rhythmic thump of tires on pavement. That's when he first noticed it, a faint patter, like raindrops on leaves, but there was no rain. Glancing in the rearview mirror, Mark spotted a small shape trotting behind the car. A puppy? He slowed down, pulling over to the curb near an old park. The little dog, no bigger than a loaf of bread, caught up, its fluffy tail wagging tentatively. It was a German Shepherd mix, with oversized ears that flopped comically and fur matted with dirt and burrs. Its eyes, big and brown, locked onto Mark's with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "Shoo, buddy, go on home," Mark muttered, stepping out of the car. He waved his hand dismissively, but the pup didn't flinch. Instead, it let out a high-pitched bark, sharp and insistent, then nipped gently at the cuff of his pants. Not aggressive, but urgent. Mark knelt down, extending a hand. The dog sniffed it, then pressed its cold nose against his palm, whining softly. There was no collar, no tags, just a skinny frame that suggested it hadn't eaten well in days. Mark's first thought was, strays were common in this neighborhood, drawn by overflowing dumpsters behind the local diner. He'd call animal control later. But as he stood to leave, the puppy darted in front of him, blocking his path back to the car. It barked again, louder this time, and trotted a few steps away before stopping to look back, as if saying, "Follow me." Curiosity piqued, Mark chuckled despite himself. "All right, lassie, what's the deal? Timmy in the well?" He decided to humor it, walking slowly in the direction the pup headed. The dog yipped approvingly and picked up pace, leading him away from the main road toward a network of back alleys that snaked through the older part of town. As they moved, Mark's mind wandered. He remembered his own dog from childhood, a loyal mutt named Buster who'd been his constant companion until a car accident took him too soon. That loss had hardened Mark a bit, made him wary of attachments. But this pup's determination stirred something dormant in him, a sense of purpose beyond the badge. The path grew narrower, overgrown with weeds pushing through cracked concrete. Abandoned warehouses loomed on either side, relics of Elmwood's industrial past. The puppy's barks grew more frantic, echoing off the walls. Mark's hand instinctively rested on his holster, his cop senses tingled. This wasn't just a stroll anymore. Suddenly, the dog veered into a derelict lot, fenced off with chain link that sagged under years of neglect. It scratched at a loose panel, whining desperately. Mark approached cautiously, his boots crunching on broken glass. He pulled the fence aside just enough to slip through, the pup squeezing in ahead. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Overturned barrels and stacks of rotting pallets created a maze. The puppy bolted forward, stopping at a cluster of old shipping crates piled haphazardly against a crumbling wall. It pawed at the ground, barking non-stop now, its tiny body vibrating with effort. Mark's heart raced. He drew his flashlight, the beam cutting through the dim light. "What is it, boy?" he whispered. Kneeling, he peered into the shadows beneath the crates. At first, he saw nothing but darkness. Then, a faint movement, a pair of wide, terrified eyes staring back. Two children, no older than 6 and 8, huddled together in the cramped space. The girl, the older one, clutched her little brother tightly, their faces smeared with grime and tear tracks. Their clothes were filthy rags, and the boy shivered uncontrollably despite the mild morning. "Oh my God," Mark breathed, his voice cracking. The puppy nudged its way in, licking the girl's hand gently, as if to say, "Help's here." The girl looked up, her voice a hoarse whisper. He found us. We were scared." She pointed to the pup. "We got lost," Mommy said to stay put, but Mark's mind spun. Lost, or worse, abducted. He radioed dispatch immediately, his words tumbling out. "This is Officer Riley. I've got 2 juveniles in distress at the old warehouse lot off Elm. Send EMS and backup ASAP. Possible missing kids. While waiting, he coaxed them out gently, wrapping his jacket around their shoulders. The boy clung to the puppy, burying his face in its fur. His name's Scout, the girl said softly. He stayed with us all night. Wouldn't leave. Tears welled in Mark's eyes as the pieces fell into place. Scout wasn't a stray, he was their guardian. The children explained in halting words how they'd wandered off during a family picnic the day before, getting lost in the woods that bordered the lot. Scout, their family pet, had chased after them, but in the confusion, they'd ended up here, too scared to venture out in the dark. The pup must have slipped away at dawn to seek help, zeroing in on Mark as the one to trust. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Paramedics arrived first, checking the kids for injuries, minor scrapes, dehydration, but nothing life-threatening. The parents, frantic after a night of searching, pulled up in a minivan, sobs of relief echoing as they embraced their children. One of the medics pulled Mark aside. That dog saved their lives. Hypothermia was setting in. Another few hours, Mark nodded, throat tight. He knelt beside Scout, who wagged his tail weakly, exhausted but content. "You did good, hero," he murmured, scratching behind those floppy ears. Tears streamed down his face unashamedly. Tears for the kid's ordeal, for Scout's bravery, for the reminder that miracles hide in the ordinary. The story exploded across local news. Puppy leads cop to lost children. Hero dog saves the day. Reporters swarmed, but Mark deflected praise. It was all Scout. I just followed. That evening, back home, Sarah greeted him with a hug tighter than usual. I saw the news. I'm so proud. They talked late into the night, the wall between them cracking. Mark couldn't leave Scout behind. With the family's blessing, they'd been planning to rehome him due to allergies. He adopted the pup. Scout became his partner, riding shotgun on patrols, a living talisman of hope. Years later, Mark would tell the tale to rookies, how a tiny dog taught him that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest voices scream the loudest. In Elmwood Heights, Scout's legend lived on, a reminder that in a world of chaos, loyalty and courage can light the darkest paths.